that
People to
message
get in
Monday
here.
at 1:52.
That's all good.
However,
Maybe you should just check your phone every once in a while.
I get it. I get it. I already got yelled at this week about it, and
Jeff, I've got 2 messages now that said, "When are y'all going live?" Post 8 p.m.
Live right now. Just
That's
waiting
what I'm
for a
telling
few
them, but they're
people to get in
wondering.
the YouTube group chat. YouTube
America.
group chat.
Go to the YouTube.
You want it?
America,
curious
go to
to
the
know-
YouTube right now.
Go to the YouTube.
You know,
which group of 5 teams deserve to be in the top 25 besides Tulane? I mean, I might be thinking.
Troy.
I can give you Troy. That's the only one
Troy,
right now.
UTSA.
This might be the most
My-
anticipated
Yeah.
episode
UTSA.
we've had.
UTSA had a fallout.
On
Troy
the spot.
smacked them.
UTSA could beat Iowa. They could beat North Carolina. They
You
could
know,
beat
these guys play it this year?
Oklahoma. They
You
could
see 'em
play.
play yet?
They could beat Wisconsin.
You say
I
Oklahoma?
Oklahoma, yeah, the 6 and 7.
I'm gonna
Oklahoma
laugh my
Sooners
ass off. But Oklahoma
last
makes
year.
the playoffs this year.
No.
You hate these guys. What did they do to you?
I will say
They were
this, though.
6
They
and
should.
7
I
last year.
I do agree. I mean, I know we're not officially live on the pod yet, but we are live. I do agree with that. Abolish the damn AP poll until like week 5,
Yes.
because you don't know. It's all different. It's completely, especially in this transfer porta. Oh boy,
Porta.
get it out before in the
Had a
porta
good show.
The Porta.
in the transfer portal. You got a whole new roster. Everybody's got a whole new roster.
Yeah.
So
Say
I mean, it's a
Houston?
completely different team.
That's Utah. Say Houston or Utah?
It's gotta be
Utah.
My thing
call me
is,
crazy. Are they not kind of the same symbol there?
No,
That's kinda
Notre
strange.
Dame 13.
one's a U and
like,
one's an H.
Clemson 9.
In this picture here, though, it's pretty. I don't know. Oregon State 18, huh? I can't remember how these teams did last year. I don't remember at all.
Tip Stu says love the ball cap.
Appreciate it, Stu.
Hey, I know you can't see my shirt, but I know he's going to be tuned in. Sarge, I'm repping you tonight. Statesboro, Georgia. Go
I'm
see.
going real neutral. I don't want anybody to know where I'm going to go with my pick. for
I'm
this
not. I mean,
episode.
just because I'm wearing a T-shirt doesn't mean I'm going that route. You know what I mean?
I think that's exactly what it means. That's what I think.
No, I rotated between 3 T-shirts I thought about before wearing this one, a Marshall T-shirt and a South Alabama T-shirt. I see Tip's got the South shirt on. So
Swaggy, before we get live, Baker Loy wants to know what the hell is on your head. Is that a beanie in August?
It's not a beanie. It means a 1935.
fedora.
Well,
Is
what
it
do
a
they
fedora?
call these?
Is that a
things?
fedora?
It's called a paperboy hat, I believe.
Angela William, New York. It's my lucky hat. I feel like I'm gonna need it.
I like it.
It's my
Express ready to
gambler
kick
hat.
this thing off or what?
Yeah, let me put this on my Facebook. By the
Man,
way,
I am so
hey,
nervous. I ain't
plugging
got a
it-
clue.
Plugging it to the world, I deleted every single member, all like 600 of the private Facebook group. That's the only way you can delete a private group, by the way, which is absolute horse shit. Thanks a lot, Zuckerberg. Elon would have done better than that. But I think we'll discuss it amongst ourselves after the show, maybe. But I'm going to do a public Facebook page. That way we can stream this live directly to Facebook too. So
There you go.
that'll be good. So just anybody that's on in the live chat right now, keep that in your back pocket. Post 10 minutes late.
All right. Ready
Hold
to
on.
rock and roll? We were trying to give ample time for everybody to get in this thing because I
perfect.
think the group chat's going to be going live tonight. And let me tell you, when we get to the voicemail segment,
Ain't no when we're getting right to them, Jeff.
I mean, buckle up.
Mm.
Buckle up. All right, you ready?
Yes, sir. I am ready. Tell me when to go. Jesse, you done? Being serious right now?
Is that really loud?
It's loud every episode. It's loud.
I'm so sorry. Mute.
Welcome in to the #1 Group of Five football podcast in the world. This is the Group of Five, guys. Could not be more excited to join everybody tonight. If you're new here, our mission is to be the voice for the Group of Five football programs that the mainstream sports media will not do. We need your help to do that. We need you to follow us on all the social media platforms at Group of Five, guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you stream your best video or audio podcast. Subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and review, leave a comment, tell your family and friends about us. We also need you to call in to our hot take hotline, 615-900-4286. Go to groupof5guys.com, get you some new Group of Five Guys swag. I've been plugging this for a long time, but that website should be up and running by the end of this week, I would say. On this episode, Sun Belt Conference preview, arguably the most competitive conference in the Group of Five. A lot of people should be fired up about this. Should be really civil, polite. Hope you guys enjoy the show. Have you had it from somebody born and raised in Lafayette, Louisiana, at a tailgate? Doubt it.
Lee Corso is a guy who had a retirement party 10 years ago, and yet he still won't leave the office.
Projected getting drafted between the first and third round. Like, that's incredible. The wide receivers are absolutely stacked for the Group of Five.
I said Michael Pratt has got to show up and play, and boy did he. 394 yards, 4 touchdowns, 48 rushing yards on the ground, and another touchdown.
Yeah, I really appreciate you do for the Group of Five programs, and I think it's great. I think we should get more of this. But you guys are in the forefront of this, and
so I'm thankful for this. I'm glad that you're talking about the Group of Five because I think they get overlooked.
But it's a ton of fun to watch a guy go to the NFL from a Nevada or a Colorado State or a Middle Tennessee or an App State, and fans follow that kid.
I appreciate what you guys do, truthfully. Covering the Group of Five. Y'all said it earlier, but the Sun Belt to me is college football.
I know that we have like 7 or 8 voicemails from some Sun Belt football fans. But real quick, before we get into that, we got to just bring up this AP poll business. I know Tip was all hot and heavy over the weekend about this. Tip, Tulane, only team from the Group of Five represented, and they put them, of course, like they always do, right at the bottom. What are your thoughts?
Yep, only one Group of Five team. I mean, just to be honest with what we've seen with these preseason polls, I'm not surprised at all. And like you mentioned, got them at 24. But just what really frustrates me is I think there should be at least 2 more Group of Five teams in there. I think UTSA and Troy should be in there, but especially Troy, because you look at the final AP poll from last year at the end of the season, Troy was 19th. They lost Carlton Marshall, and they probably lost a couple other guys. But you're telling me that I'm just looking at some of these teams in the top 25. I think Troy can beat Iowa. I think they can beat North Carolina. I think they can beat Oklahoma. I think they can beat Wisconsin. I think they can beat Oregon State. I think they can beat Kansas State. I think they can beat Utah. I think they can beat Notre Dame. There's 8+ teams, I think, in this top 25 that Troy can beat right now. And I think with Wisconsin's there, I think it's that Lou Fickle hype. I don't know if they'll win 6 games this year. Book it. I just think it's over. We talk about this every year when this AP poll comes out, preseason AP poll. You're just looking at these teams and these schools with the noticeable brand name, the noticeable logo. They stick them in the top 25 and to get the publicity out there. And it's just extremely frustrating.
Tip, I got 3 things. Number 1, I ain't never seen you so damn fired up before. This is amazing. I can't wait for the rest of the show. Second thing, Troy goes to Kansas State week 2. So we're about to find out real quick about that. And another point on that is I have an example of Tulane did beat Southern Cal the last game of the season last year. And of course, Southern Cal just gets to hang out. It's like when that happens, they just completely forget about those games, don't they? But in any other circumstance, it's not. Now, I'm not sitting here to say that USC is not going to be really good. They got a strong chance probably to contend for the playoff. But why, when Tulane beats them and has the quarterback coming back and a pretty strong team coming back, do they drop all the way to 24 and SC stays in the top 5? That's my issue with it. But again, I think we should abolish the preseason polls until about week 5. But it's neither here nor there. Any other thoughts on that? I know we got a ton of voicemails. We're gonna have a long show tonight, so we got to get to them. We good on it? Well,
I think you guys covered it.
Well, Jeff, I know that you have a Southern Roots commercial. The show is presented by Southern Roots. You can listen to our show on their radio stream. Jeff, go ahead.
Are you tired of listening to the same music playlist? We got just what you need. Southern Roots Radio is an audio magazine rooted in Americana, curating music, culture, and sports to a stubbornly independent audience. Go check them out at southernrootsradio.com, or you can download their app on either the Apple or Google Play Store. Southern Roots Radio. Come on in and stay a while.
Just before we get to the voicemails, let's talk storylines from last year. Troy, of course, dominates Coastal in the Sun Belt Championship game. James Madison technically won the East, couldn't play for the title game. They're in the same boat again this year. So, unfortunately for James Madison, even if they do what they did last year, they still can't play for the championship. But either way, Sun Belt's going to be very competitive. I know that we got some trash talk. You guys remember, call the hotline, 615-900-4286. Especially, guys, this is the last week. We got football next week. We have college football games, week 0 next week. So we need predictions. We need trash talk. We need all the above. But let's see what we got coming into the Sun Belt preview.
Yeah, like Express says, keep them coming. We asked for you guys to bring it, and I think you guys brought it without question. We got a handful of them to get to real quick. Want to shout out the chat because there's a lot of good stuff going on in there. Zach Green's in there. Stu's Wright's in there. Our boy Steeple's in there. Baker Loy is in there. And that's who we got so far. They got some good points coming.
What did Zach Green say on Twitter? He said it's going to be a Sunbelt love fest.
Yeah, and he just called out the Sunbelt pretty much in the chat and says that the American has two teams that are better than any team in the Sunbelt. So, but let's get right to it. And guys, normally it's a one voicemail deal. I only play one, but I feel like this guy has earned his stripes last year. He called in pretty much every week. And I think it's just a great one to kick off our voicemail segment. Steeple PC 51. He went long, but I'm going to let him have his moment. It's a good one.
Good morning, group of 5 guys. This is Steeple _PC _51. Calling in for your update this week for the Sun Belt Conference. First of all, I want to say, I talked about the other conferences, the AACC, the Mountain West Conference. Well, basically, it don't matter about them other conferences. The best conference is the Sun Belt Conference, and we're about to prove it. We are going to beat up on all our non-conference games, each one of these other teams. That's the only time I'm going to praise these other ones. So we are going to totally dominate and prove that the Sun Belt Conference is the best Group of 5 conference in the nation. Secondly, you guys wanted to quote on Twitter about the greatest coaches remarks. Well, I only have one, and it's going to go right into what I want to talk about as far as quarterbacks. To beat a man, you have to beat the man. Woo! We all know where that came from. And we want to talk about the man in the Sun Belt Conference, which is going to be Grayson McCall. 3-time player of the year is going to totally dominate this conference. What people don't realize, last year, Grayson was coming off an injury, which he put on weight, taking care of his body. He did not have a single spring. He didn't have a single summer. And he might have had 2.5 weeks of fall practices with his skill position. And saying that, he still was able to put up decent numbers. He still was able to put up wins for the team. And now he's coming back with a slew of weapons, and they have been practicing since they lost and got beat down in the bowl game. Huh. Man, I mean, I feel sorry for my counterparts, Zach, Branna. Hey, welcome to the table. We had you at the kiddie table all last year. We're glad that you're able to come and really talk football in a true conference. Terrible Terry Johnson. I did the hot sauce challenge, Mr. Johnson, and Cholula hot sauce is still better than Louisiana. So there, you lose again. Just like them sorry Cajuns gonna lose again and again. Tree, App State, still with them ugly women up there. Can't wait to hear your response this week. I hope you're online. Creme brulee, I'm not gonna talk about you. You're just, we really don't respect you at all. I know Stu though. Still can't wait to hear from you also. Man, we can go back and forth, but App State, it's only one other team I fear. That's South Alabama, and I got to give it to them. Carter Bradley is probably going to be the second best quarterback in that conference. And third, it was a toss-up for me. Darren Granger, if he can improve on his accuracy, he will be very, very dangerous for Georgia State. But they're so young. They lost their offensive lineman to the transfer portal, who's a starter guard. They're going to have some issues being very young. My pick, surprise, would be that Davis Brin, the one who transferred in to Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern is scary. That guy he's a gunslinger anyway, and they're just going to be absolutely scary. And my honorable mention as far as one of the best quarterbacks in the Sun Belt will be, of course, one of the best named Gunner. Gunner is going to be absolutely, the defending champion. You got to give him respect that he deserves, and he's coming back another year, knowing the system. I think defensively, they're hurt, losing Marshall. And that's the position I played, and it was very, very pivotal. That's like a quarterback on the defense, and you just cannot replace that production. But you guys, I'm glad we're getting started again. Let's get down with the Sun Belt. And you know what I say, see y'all in Conway. Jeff, I need to apologize for calling again, but there was something I had to say, okay? I can't wait to get some of the JMU people to come on here to express their opinion, because unlike other people that's going to go on to say we're going to play one game at a time and think about this and think about that, I guarantee you, I will bet my paycheck that Coastal Carolina is thinking about one game only and getting to one game only. And that's that last game of the season when they're going to prove that they're going to win the Sun Belt right out, and they're going to put foot all in JMU's. Jeff, beat me out. Put foot all in there. And that's my prediction for right now. See you on Conway. Deuces.
Appreciate it, Steeple. I had to let him have his long moment because he called out every single team, I think, for the most part.
Well, to be honest with you, you can just clip everything he just said and put him in for most of my portions on this show. He said a lot of good points that I was planning on making on this show. The Georgia State stuff, the Georgia Southern stuff. I mean, right on.
Yep.
And damn it, Steeple, we will see you in Conway, partner. Can't wait.
Yes, we will.
Gonna be a good time. All right, well, let's keep it rolling. We got a lot to get to. Our boy Terry Johnson's up next.
Hey, group of five guys, Terry Johnson here. Want to look forward to listening to this on the Sunbelt episode. But man, I just want to talk about how close the Sunbelt has been to getting a New Year's Six berth. Let's start with in 2019 at App State. App State went 13-1 with a close loss to the rival Georgia Southern at home. Right? If they went undefeated, they would have gone to the New Year's Six with wins against South Carolina and North Carolina. 2020, you had the Beach Chickens, right? They were one of the highest ranked G5 teams, and then they ran away from an ass whooping, right, from the Cajuns, right? Winner of that probably couldn't have gone to the New Year's Six because Cincinnati was ranked so high, but it was a potential game for that. You know, we had Tulsa beating Cincinnati in the American Championship game, you know. Then 2021, UL had a 13-1 record, you know, but Cincy was the best G5 team ever. And so we were just so far behind, we couldn't compete with the number 4 team in the nation. We were ranked at like 19, 18 final polls or something. In 2022, it was so close, I feel, because if App State beats North Carolina, then beats Texas A&M, they become a ranked team, right? And that's one added ranked team to the Sun Belt. Right. Then they blew a 28-3 lead against JMU, had a Hail Mary win against Troy. Who knows? They could start the team 3-1, 4-0, and ranked. Right. Then Marshall, right, beats Notre Dame, but they lose to Bowling Green. If they would have gone 3-0, and then they beat Troy, that's another added ranked team to the Sun Belt strength of schedule. Right. Then you had Troy, who loses 28-10 to Ole Miss. And you had losses to Athens, Hail Mary, beats Marshall. West Kentucky beats P5 Indiana in overtime. That's another significant win on the Troy schedule. Then UCLA barely squeaks by South Al, and that's another potential ranked team that Sunbelt could have had in South Al if they would have beat UCLA. And of course, Coastal Carolina could have beaten if they would have played Virginia in that unfortunate, shooting in Virginia. God bless those families. But if that game would have been played, Coastal they were favored in that game. So, it's just a lot of close calls that the Sunbelt could have had to being in the New Year's Six game the past 3-4 seasons. Hopefully we get our chance this year. I look forward to hearing this. I look forward to the season. God bless Group of Five. God bless Group of Five guys. Go Cajuns.
Appreciate it, Terry. I think we're close. I think they're going to have a couple teams that could be on the radar this year that could make that New Year's Six, and you never know, might have a shot at the playoff.
Yeah, definitely depends on the schedule. I think you got to have at least one decent Power 5 win. And then, you can probably only afford one loss at this point. I think Troy is in a pretty good spot to do it this year with that Kansas State game, and then talk about it later, but they avoid everybody in the East. So they got a pretty solid path. But
yeah, I think Troy and Coastal, because those are two teams that have been ranked.
That's right.
And also South Alabama, and they go to Oklahoma State week 3. So those are 3 teams.
Don't forget Marshall. Marshall hosts Virginia Tech, and they also go to NC State. If they have the season, they're potentially they have the players, the talent they have.
I saw that, but then this is what Sprouse brought up last week. You get towards the end of the season, and Virginia Tech has 4 or 5 wins, or UCLA has 6 wins, or Kansas State has 7 or 8 wins. They're just going to look at those wins for Coastal, Marshall, Troy, South Alabama as I guess quote like not impressive wins.
I think the Sun Belt
and it could affect their ranking.
think the Sun Belt's getting so much more respect though now. If you're able to go undefeated in the Sun Belt, I feel like that's also going to just add to it. I mean, granted, I hear what you're saying, Virginia Tech and NC State. However, with NC State and the history they've had the past few, 3 or 4 years, beating them at NC State along with having a undefeated season, I'm not saying Marshall's going to go undefeated by any means. I'm just playing the what if game. Damn it, did it again. What if? But Marshall, if they were going undefeated, I could see them easily being in the playoffs.
Yeah, if any of
Or
these
Year
teams
6 at least.
has 0 or 1 loss and wins the conference, I think they got a shot. The issue is going to be if you have a Tulane or a UTSA that only has 1 loss or is undefeated. I think they would get the nod.
Or Boise State.
Because even though they're still Group of 5, the brand aspect is going to come into play. And for TV ratings and whatnot, hate to say it, but ESPN and the like would probably rather see Boise State or Tulane rather than Troy or Marshall or South. But I think they got a good shot.
Well, appreciate it, Terry. Keep them coming. Let's get right to our next one. We got a new caller this time, Georgia Southern fan, Foster Reynolds.
Hey guys, it's Foster Reynolds. I'm a Georgia Southern fan. I'm actually a new listener. Just kind of started in the past month. Been looking for some Group 5 content, and you guys seem to fit the bill, man. So I'm excited to become a long, loyal listener. I had 2 quick things. I know you guys have the Sun Belt week coming up. I think personally, Sun Belt's one of the best conferences of the Group of 5. Now there may not be any bias there, maybe. But I wanted to get y'all's takes as outsiders, a couple insiders. What's the best rivalry in the Sun Belt? I like to think there's 2 kinds of people in this world. There's people who think Georgia Southern App State is, and then there's liars, or people who don't know. I think it's a clear favorite running away. But I'd love to hear your take on that. Also, what does this conference realignment mean for the Group of 5 moving forward with the college football playoff? Does it open up a spot? Pac-12 not being there? It's coming up with a 12-team system. Does this open the door, or does it shut for the Group of 5? I mean, they're talking about moving to 2 different tournaments for Group 5 versus Power 5. I mean, that may all be rumors. I think that's terrible for the sport, but I think in the short future, I think it opens up some doors for the Group of 5. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Hey, man, go Sunbelt, Gata in the fall. Clay Helton, he's got the boys up and ready. Georgia Southern 9-3. Thanks, guys.
9-3. I like it.
It's pretty good pick.
Biggest rivalry you think in the Sun Belt?
Yeah, it's Georgia Southern and App.
Think so?
I mean, I think so. Now, full disclosure, we hadn't been to that one, so but it is. I mean, you just see the fans, both really passionate fan bases. They hate each other. It's always a good game. Yeah,
I'm interested to see a couple of these new rivalries with kind of Marshall coming back into the fold. I think it's gonna kind of renew some big time games, but. Appreciate the call, Foster. Keep them coming. We need more Georgia Southern fans calling in. Let's get to the next one. Our boy Zach, his analysis on the Sun Belt.
What's up, guys? Zach Green at GG Go Flames here. I just wanted to call in and point everybody's attention to a record. And that record is 3-9, 3 wins and 9 losses. That's the Sun Belt's record against Liberty since the Flames joined the FBS in 2018. So let's go ahead and start with those 3 wins that the Sun Belt has had. And honestly, I've got to give it to Terry Johnson's Ragin' Cajuns. They're 2-0 against Liberty in 2 games that weren't particularly close. Ugly final scores. I had the displeasure of being in attendance for one of them. Not good games, at least for most of the game. So the Ragin' Cajuns are 2-0 against Liberty. Got to give it to them. And then the other one of the 3 wins came from the ULM Warhawks. The Warhawks are 1-1 against Liberty in that time period. So the Louisiana schools holding their own against Liberty in that time period, which you can't say for the other 5 schools that I'm about to mention. 3 of these schools have lost to Liberty twice in that time period. And just for context, I'm including schools that came over from the CUSA that are in the Sun Belt now in the statistics. But the 3 schools that have lost to Liberty twice since 2018 are Old Dominion, Southern Miss, and Zachary Branner's Troy Trojans. So those 3 schools are 0-2 against Liberty in that time period. And then the other 2 schools that have lost to Liberty in that time period lost to Liberty in 2 consecutive Cure Bowls. The 2019 Cure Bowl, Liberty beat Georgia Southern. I think the only thing Georgia Southern got after in that game was the pregame meal. and then in the 2020 Cure Bowl against the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers in an absolute thriller of a game. The Chanticleers came into that game undefeated, the darlings of college football in the 2020 season, number 12 in the country. Everybody thought they should be in a bigger bowl, and Liberty came in and beat them. And they were coached by this guy named Jamie Chadwell that some of you may have heard of. I don't know where he coaches now, but I know he's not in Conway anymore. So if somebody could call in next week maybe and tell me where he coaches now, I'd love to know that so I could follow his career at his next destination. But anyways, I just wanted to call in with that record for some context for Sunbelt fans, because sometimes I think you think that you're in the SEC, not the SBC.
Appreciate it, Zach.
Great call.
That's what we want. Fantastic. I didn't know that Liberty had such a good record against Sunbelt schools.
Yeah.
The Louisiana schools 3-1 against them.
I think it was Hugh Freeze had a good record against the Sunbelt schools.
What? He's Liberty. He's talking about Liberty.
Hugh
in
Freeze
general.
was Liberty.
I know, but Liberty as a whole.
Since joining the FBS is what he was saying.
Well, Hugh Freeze coached there for 3 or 4 years.
Anyway, so let's get to the next caller. Our boy
How'd that not
Stu's
make any
right.
sense?
Our boy Stu's right.
Jeez.
I get what you're saying. You're saying,
Hey, boys. Stu's right from Twitter here, checking in for the Sunbelt Preview podcast. Just wanted to go ahead and tell Creme Brulee and Steeple to shut up. I know they're going to call in and say something stupid. Just wanted to say, this year, overlook App State at your own peril. We're going to be good on both sides of the ball. We've got some monsters on defense. Santana Hopper, Andrew Parker, both coming back. Remember those names? We've had a couple monster transfers come in. Michael Fletcher, Tyreek Funderburk, Thomas Davis. Quarterback, no matter who it is going to be mobile and be able to spin it. We've got Nate Noel back. We've got some monsters up front on the offensive line. Damian Daly, Griffin Scroggs, Thornton Gentry, just to name a few. I think it's going to be a good year for App. I'm not so cautiously optimistic about how it's going to go. Texas State's going to suck again. We're going to kill Coastal. Sorry, Steeple. Anyways, just wanted to give you a heads up. Overlook App at your own peril. Have a good one.
Stu's right. Good to hear from you, buddy. It's been a while.
Thanks, Zach. Appreciate that comment. These guys couldn't follow what I was putting down. I'm proud to see we got some intelligent folk in the chat room.
So Hugh Freeze was 9-3.
Hugh Freeze got majority of the Liberty wins against the Sunbelt. That's all I was saying. Good
That's
call,
fine.
Steve. I mean,
Still Liberty. All right, let's get to our next caller, Zachary Branner.
Yeah, it is. It is football season. What is going on, boys? Oh, it is a good day. It is your boy, Zachary Branner. I am back. It is time. It is a great day to have a great day, boys. Sunbelt preview, kickoffs in 2 weeks. The Trojans are here to just capitalize on the championship last year, but keyword last year. So it's a new season. We're here to really, enjoy it. I'm sad we haven't get to see our rings yet, though. I've been up our administration's butt, honestly. I've been texting them all the time, like, when we go see the rings? So, honestly, it's a bit odd we haven't been able to see them yet. But that's in the past. New season. We got Gunner, Gunslinger Watson, dropping dimes. He's a new and improved quarterback. Loving it. Love it. Defense is coming back. We may have lost Carlton. We've lost Will Cholo. We lost a few guys here and there. But hey, we're the Troy Trojans. We're here to play some ball. We're here to win championships. We have the most in the Sun Belt. So what's up? The Beach Chickens can't touch our shit. Bring the bleep bucket button back. It's all good in the hood. Let's just fucking go, boys. It's football season. Coastal. Let's have a great day. Bye.
He snuck one by me. I missed one.
Yeah.
I got to come ready when Zach calls in.
Is there a creme brulee voicemail on this?
There is.
Okay, great. I was sitting here thinking, I was like, everybody that calls has a good, they got a good chance at winning this conference. And I know, Jeff, you're probably going to be all over Texas State today, but I mean, I don't necessarily think they can win it. But if Creme Brulee calls, then there's your Texas State guy. But I mean, Coastal's got a chance, Southern's got a chance, App.
It's wide open,
Troy.
I think.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Zach. We'll keep this thing rolling. We just got a couple more left. This guy was he called late, didn't leave his name, but he's a Cajun fan, so I wanted to play it.
Hey guys, I'm a ULL Cajuns fan, and I just want to be honest for a second. I was really hopeful last year that even with Napier going out to Florida, that we still have a pretty good season. But after going around 12 wins each year, then falling to 6 and 7, I'm very worried about our team this year. To be honest, we still haven't filled the quarterback battle between Old Ben and Old Fields, and so I just want to ask you guys what you think about our team this year. Me personally, I'm very worried about out-of-conference games. I don't think we can beat UAB even this year with old Zeno or old Liddy up there in Birmingham. And I don't know, guys. What y'all think about the Cajuns this year? I see us probably going around 5-7, 4-8. I just hope we can maybe beat ULM. We couldn't even make those awards next year. And so, just let me hear your thoughts on the ULL Cajuns. And thanks for the show. Have a great night, guys. Thank you.
What do you think?
I think they're better than 4 or 5 wins.
I think so.
I think it does come down to the quarterback. I think Wooldridge is going to be the guy. I mean, he came in last year as the number 2 guy, and then I thought he played quite well, and then he got hurt, and then Chandler Fields took over the rest of the way. But I think if Wooldridge is the guy, I mean, he threw for 15 touchdowns last year in about half a season, only 5 picks. So I think he's the guy. Now, I think they're right in that 3rd or 4th best in the West range. I don't think they're up there with Troy or South, but I think they're going to be a decent team. They'll be better.
I think they'll be better. Their schedule, I think they're going to start out 2-0. I think they'll go to Old Dominion and win there. The UAB game's a coin toss. I think Buffalo's a coin toss. Minnesota could also be a coin toss. And then in the Sun Belt, you got those middle of the road teams that I think are the Texas States and Georgia States. They may beat you, they may not. So I mean, I have no clue. I think they might be a 6 or 7 win team this year, Louisiana.
Yeah, I think they're a bowl team. The good news is they don't have App State, they don't have Marshall, they don't have Georgia Southern. I mean, hey, I think they're better, man. Hey, with an attitude like that, they're not going to be very good. My God,
I love the voicemail. It was so honest.
It was honestly. I think he was looking to us to cheer him up.
It's like he was smoking a cigarette. Like, what do you guys think?
He's like, I'm gonna be sitting in there front row spitting on the opponents, but I swear to God, we ain't gonna be good.
Hey, I bet he'll be at the games though.
He will.
I think they'll be better. I agree with you guys.
Yeah.
I think they'll be improved from last year.
Reading just doing research on it is like just reliving just what they had to go through last year, losing all their best players, going to Florida, losing coaches. It's just hard being a Louisiana fan. So I think there's only one way to go, and just moving forward and getting better.
Go to the games,
Yep,
Cajun fans.
You can do.
Boudin, Andy Gator beer, unlimited.
It is, especially a week after Thanksgiving. You use the deep fried turkey as the roux. Anyway.
You know all about it. Let's get to our next one. We just got 3 left. Go back to App State. Our guy Baker Loy.
What's up, boys? It's Baker Loy, your resident App State fan here. Calling in with my timer on so I don't go over my 2-minute limit. Listen, if I do, you can call me out, say whatever you want to say. But here's what I got. First and foremost, happy Sunbelt week. Best week of the year, right? For you guys, it's got to be. Now listen, first question I want to ask before I get into the Sunbelt stuff, all this realignment stuff we got going on here. Tell me this. If the American or the Mountain West joins up with the Power 5 and say they choose to, or with the Power 5, my bad, with the Pac-4, I guess it is now, and they choose to keep that name or do a new conference or whatever they want to do, what do you consider the Group of 5 at this point? Like, if the Mountain West or the American, like, are they still part of the Group of 5? Just curious about your thoughts. Now, as far as the Sun Belt, we got 1 minute left, so let's run it down. Listen, my App State Mountaineers here's what I say about it this year. We're just little old App State, and you guys just take it easy on us because, you know, we had a rough year last year. And I just don't know. I think we need your pity. I ask your pity because you never know what we're going to do. But, you know, just check back in a few weeks. That's all I'm saying. Now, besides that, we're looking for a hell of a year. A lot of new quarterbacks in the Sun Belt. It's going to be a fun league. A lot of crazy times in the East as usual. South Alabama, Troy, what are they going to be? Who the hell knows? What's Georgia Southern going to get out of their new quarterback? We got some good running backs, as always. Looking forward to a season, boys. Let's get her done. Go Apps.
Appreciate it, Baker. As far as the Mountain West question, I think it all depends on what name they keep.
Yeah. Well, and it depends on if they get a automatic berth or whatever, you know, whatever the rules are going to be too. But
see,
I don't know. I would. We talked about it last week. I would love to welcome them guys into the Mountain West. A couple new teams in the group of 5 to talk about to piss off a couple fan bases.
Yeah. Well, and Matt Mummy, that's what he thinks should happen.
Yeah.
You know, we'll see what happens. But
that was a good interview, by the way.
Oh, appreciate it, man.
He's
All right,
dude.
we got
Coach Mummy's great.
Yeah, he's awesome. We got our last 2 callers. Creme Brulee is up next.
What is up, group of 5 guys? You already know who this is. This is the one and only Creme Brulee. I've taken some time off, had a good spring, good summer. Breast is recovered, but boys, we're ready. And I'm not just ready. My Bobcats are ready. I want to try to keep this concise, y'all, but just a couple of things. 52 transfers. My boy, Coach G.J. Kinney, bringing a high-powered offense to San Marcos. And not only that, but we have our new president, Kelly Dances. We have our new athletic director, Don Coryell. In my time being associated with Texas State, this is truly the first time that everyone is aligned. Everyone's aligned from the president to the athletic director to the head coach. And boys, you can tell. You can see it in the recruiting. They've opened up the coffers for recruiting. Our new $40 million end zone complex renovation. Guys, this is just the start. And I hate to tell Stu's right and everyone else in the Sun Belt, but we're coming. And we're going to win it. We're going to win the Sun Belt, and we're going to do it in just a nasty fashion. Just a nasty fashion. But, guys, I am so jacked up for football season. I'm so jacked up for this team. 52 transfers. We have 2 really high-end quarterbacks coming in. TJ Finley from Auburn and Malik Hornsby from Arkansas. We'll see who wins the battle. But whoever gets that quarterback job, they're going to light the Sun Belt on fire. And, guys, I'm here along for the ride. And let's go. Eat them up.
I'm with him. I'm sold.
That was a great call until he said they're going to win the conference. Ain't no way, Jeff.
No way.
4 wins.
No way.
Well, let me ask you this: who wins that QB job? You think Malik Hornsby? I think that's what the consensus is right now.
Yeah, I kind of think that's where they go with to start. I just think he's so dynamic and athletic, and I'll get into it, here shortly. But yeah, I think he's going to be a guy this year. I don't know. I think Kenny's the man though. I really love what he's doing down there, and the fact that they got him all. You heard it from the horse's mouth. Seems like everybody's aligned for the first time, and I think they're going in the right direction.
Well, we saw that a little bit when we went out there that summer. The AD's all about it.
He's
all
big time.
about it. And yeah, I saw them post about that end zone project. So yeah, that's exciting. There was another thing they were just talking about it when we went up there, and then
now they got it.
But Jeff, what do they got to do? We got to get an excavator out there. We got to get a shovel out there because we can talk about it. We can post pictures. We can post, virtual tours.
That's very true.
But until we're digging,
I'm going to be honest. When you said what we got to do, I thought you meant we have to go to the river. So that's what I was going to say.
Well,
down in San Marcos. We will.
Creme Brulee, if you're correct about them winning the conference, I wouldn't mind maybe a host city for a Sun Belt championship going back down there. Anyway,
let's get to our last
real
one.
quick.
Yeah,
Real
go
quick.
for
They
it,
might
Tip.
have one of the hardest schedules of any team in the Sun Belt. They got to go. They got to go
I was
to
looking at it right now.
Baylor
There's
week
no
1,
way.
at UTSA week 2, and then the East Division team that they have to play this year is at Coastal. So you got to play in conference. You're playing Coastal, and then you have to play Troy and South Alabama. Granted, both Troy and South
Georgia
Alabama,
Southern.
they're both at home, but I mean, just a really, really.
You want to know how you
difficult
beat a
schedule.
great defense, Tip? You have a
that?
phenomenal athlete at quarterback.
Yeah,
That's all
100%.
I'm
No,
gonna
I
say.
agree. I agree. No,
That's all I'm going to say.
this new offense that they're about to
They
implement.
better be able to block.
Well,
or stop somebody.
Well, I'll get to that too. Let's pump the brakes.
And they got to go to
Texas
the Rock.
State's going to have their time on this episode, let me tell you. Let's get to this last guy because, guys, the old feller's back.
Oh, Lord.
Hey, fellers, it's the App State Fanatic calling in. I'm absolutely fired to F up. The freak up, fellers. Of course, I've got App State football this year. Been listening to your little podcast, sitting back, smoking on some of the Appalachian. Hey, fellers, it's the App State Fanatic calling in. I'm absolutely fired to F up. The freak up, fellers. Of course, I've got App State football this year. Been listening to your little podcast, sitting back, smoking on some of the Appalachian. Hey, fellers, it's the App State Fanatic call.
I don't know what happened to the rest of it. It got cut off for some reason. Smoking too much of that.
What's he smoking on there, Jeff? What are you smoking on putting this thing together?
Look,
I thought
I
this
had
thing was
like
just on
11 voicemails to cut and clip, and for some reason that one got messed up. I'm not sure what happened.
That's
so
all right. It's all
But
good. All good.
appreciate all the calls, man. Keep them coming. I think that's the most calls we've ever had for an episode. It was awesome.
Those are great. But the Texas State still got me just
Just give me. I'll get it. Don't worry.
convince me, bro. It's a hard.
I will.
We'll get to it.
Should we get into the show?
Yeah.
Are we ready?
Let's do it.
Welcome to the Group of Five Guy podcast.
Yeah. Should I bang the mic and? Anyway,
I've been muted the whole.
Anyway, I'm going to start with you, Swag. So get ready. Biggest question mark in the Sun Belt 2023. What you got?
Just going to point out, I went first last week, but I am proud to go first this week for the Sun Belt Conference.
Like when you go first.
Okay, well, this is
Give
probably
it
the
a
hardest
shot.
conference to do because I do think this is the best conference. I'm not just saying that for the viewing audience. I really think this conference is hands down best in the Group of Five. My biggest question mark this year, past 3 or 4 years. I mean, I think the Sun Belt has been kind of the Power Five killer. Are they going to maintain being the Power Five killer? They've had 8 wins since 2020. A lot of that came from just last year. If you go back, look at Marshall taking down Notre Dame, Old Dominion against Virginia Tech, Georgia Southern, Nebraska, etc. Obviously, App against Texas A&M. Going on back to 2020. So there are 18 opportunities, right, this season for the Sun Belt to take down a Power Five opponent. I am pretty confident between week 1 and week 3, there's going to be about 3 or 4. That's what they average. You get about 3 or 4 wins. Which ones, Swag Bear? Which ones do you think? I like James Madison at Virginia. I like Marshall hosting Virginia Tech. Call me crazy. I like Southern Miss near the end of the season going to Starkville, Mississippi against the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Also, I also enjoy seeing Troy going to Kansas State. That's going to be a really good defense going against a really good offense. I think defense wins championships. I like Troy against Kansas State. There are a couple ones out there. I know that people are saying, hey, you forgot to mention, App State at UNC. Look, North Carolina's going to have a hell of an offense this year. Can App State stop them? We'll see. So Sun Belt, they're pretty much the Power Five killers. Can they keep it going this year? I say yes.
That was such a great week when Marshall beat Notre Dame, Georgia Southern beat Nebraska, App State beat A&M.
So
that
many
was
beers that day.
fantastic.
Yeah. That was I mean, Coastal at UCLA. I
Yeah,
know they got to go all the way to
fun.
UCLA. I don't know how UCLA is going to be, and
I don't even know what conference they're in.
Davis Brand going up with Georgia Southern, going up to Wisconsin. Tip was saying it before the show. Is Wisconsin even worth the grain of salt they put on the field? We'll see. What Georgia Southern did to Nebraska last year, that was pretty nice.
It was.
We shall see.
Yeah, I agree. So how many? You said they got 18 opportunities. They got to get 8 of them. You're going with? Is that what you said?
Oh Lord, no. I said they had 8 since 2020. I'm saying they seem to always get about 3 or 4. So I'm saying this year, can they get at least 3? And I think so.
Yeah, I think so. I think they do. I'd put the over 3.5 if that's what you're doing. Jeff Murphy, I'm going to go to you. Biggest question mark in the Sun Belt 2023.
Question mark that I have is, can GJ Kinney replicate the success he had at Incarnate Word? And let me just give you a little background. This guy played at Tulsa, quarterback, under Gus Malzahn. He threw for 9,000 yards, 81 touchdowns as a player. Goes on to be the OC at Hawaii, then becomes the co-offensive coordinator at UCF, back under Malzahn again. Then he does 1-year stint at Incarnate Word last year, takes him to the semifinals. They do lose, posts a 12-2 record. But I absolutely love what this guy is doing down at Texas State. His motto has been "Take Back Texas," and that is exactly what he has done. We heard Creme Brulee talk about it. 52 transfers. 52. And that's not just some random guys, okay? We talked about Malik Hornsby a little bit, transfer out of Arkansas. All right, he's a fantastic athlete. 6'2", 190 pounds. This guy can absolutely fly. And if you want to talk about improving somebody's throwing ability, GJ Kinney can do that. I think he's going to be the starter to start the season with, but no official decision yet has been made. You also get TJ Finley, quarterback out of Auburn, who's a huge athlete, big guy, huge arm. So I think as far as quarterbacks go, you're going to have a fantastic choice to make out of either one of those guys. Receivers-wise, you get Drew Donnelly out of Cincinnati coming in. This guy's an absolute burner. He can run with the best of them. Then you get Marshall transfer, you get a Iowa State transfer, and SMU transfer as receivers. And this is where I think they really crushed the portal. Offensive line, all right? Their average weight is at the top of the Sun Belt for across the board on offensive line. Bray Walker out of Oklahoma, 6'7", 359 pounds. Marcus Alexander, also out of Oklahoma, 6'4", 330 pounds. You get Chase Todd out of Houston, Danny Valenzuela out of Arizona State. With some guys they have coming back. They had 4 offensive linemen from Incarnate Word transfer over. I don't know if Kenny's going to be able to make this all gel. I don't. But I love what he's been doing in the offseason. I love what he's done in the portal. And he might have the most talent that Texas State has had since they made the jump. I think he's going to do a great job. I think they're having a much better season than last year. I don't think they're going to be an easy out this year like they were in years past. That's my take.
I like it. How do you think they got TJ Finley to go there? Because Hornsby had already transferred. That's it was surprising to me when TJ Finley also went there.
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. I think Kenny has done a great job. He's a young, charismatic coach. I think he's just doing a great job at selling these guys. And we heard Brule say it. They've been opening up the coffers, and I don't think that's just for the facilities. I think somebody is with the NIL stuff is getting some money out there, getting these kids to come here.
Those poor other 52 players that got cut for the transfers.
Well, a lot of them transferred out.
Obviously, transferred
probably
out.
sitting in the portal. Yeah,
probably still sitting there.
There's probably that 1,700 kids that are sitting there wishing they were a Bobcat.
Well, I know there's a guy that they call Sugar Shane down there that probably emptied everything he's got in his pocket.
Ain't no doubt.
Yeah, Jeff. I mean, I think they'll be better, but I don't know. I don't see it. I think it's going to be one of those teams that's really exciting. They just don't win a whole lot. But
excited to see Hornsby. I think he's going to be the guy.
Yeah, we shall see. Tip, biggest question mark in the Sun Belt 2023. What you got?
My biggest question mark is, can the Troy Trojans repeat as Sun Belt Conference champions? Now, I think the obvious answer with this is yes, they definitely can. They're an extremely talented team, and they have a lot of starters and a lot of great players returning. So, yes, they definitely can. But going back to last season, they had so many close games. There were 6 games last year decided by 1 score. They won 5 of those 6 games. And 3 of those were against conference opponents. So this is just one of those things where those one score games, do they continue those winning ways of those one score games, or does the ball roll or whatever go a different way and they lose some of those close games this year? But something else looking back at last year, on offensively, they struggled against teams with good defenses. And I'll kind of just go over these real quick. Against Marshall last year, they scored 16 points. South Alabama, they scored 10 points. Army, they scored 10 points. UTSA in the Cure Bowl, they scored 18 points. And they won all 4 of those games. So that just shows you how incredible that defense is. And I think the defense is going to be good again this year. And so it looks like with Gunnar Watson coming back at quarterback, and a lot of your top, I'll talk about it a little bit later, but their top receivers, running backs coming back this year. It looks like it's going to be the same recipe for Troy Trojans this year. Kind of just on offense, take care of the football, don't turn it over, and score just enough points, and let your defense just dominate like they did all last year. So can they repeat as conference champions? Yes, they absolutely can. But I'm just interested to see with how many one-score games they had last season. Just interested to see how that goes this year.
Yeah, they their first 10 games of the year, they averaged less than 21 points a game on offense. And then those last 3 games seemed like they really leaned on the run game and found something there. Running back went for over 200 yards in all 3 of the last 3 games. So that's what they got to do. Run the ball, play defense. I mean, that's their MO. For me, biggest question mark in the Sun Belt, can Marshall get through this brutal schedule healthy? Because early in the year, they're at East Carolina, they're home versus Virginia Tech, they're at NC State. Then they really get into conference play at Georgia State versus James Madison, at Coastal, at App State versus Georgia Southern, at South Alabama, back to back weeks. So last year, what hurt them was health. Is Ali going to be healthy again, or is he going to be able to stay healthy this year? That's the biggest question mark for me. I think we'll get into it a little bit more, but in the East, everybody's got a good offense. Marshall is the one with the good defense. So that's what I got to see, but they've got to have some health on offense to be able to keep pace with everybody else. But they do have the defense. That's my biggest question mark. Can they stay healthy and get through that? What's up, Jeff?
No, I was just going to say that's such a tough stretch. Stu's right, says that's the murderer's row of the Sun Belt.
Well, and it doesn't help that they're, not that Virginia Tech and NC State are, like we talked about last week. It's not Ohio State and Alabama, but they're fine. They'll be physical games, and it's not week 1 and week 2. Also, it's middle of the year.
Yeah.
So that's interesting for them.
I just think their quarterback is the biggest. It's the biggest question mark on that team. He did a very good job last year when he got the opportunity. He's just got to be more consistent. He's got to get his completion percentage up. I know he likes to run the ball, but they have a solid defense. They got, great players coming back, skill position wise. So I think he's the key to Marshall's success.
I don't know who, this is another, not a question mark, but just a question that I had. I don't know who puts together these schedules, but how does Troy avoid App State, Marshall, Georgia Southern, and Coastal out of the East? And then South Alabama avoids App State, Georgia Southern, and Coastal, but they do got to play Marshall. So, I mean, you're giving your top 2 teams in the West a pretty nice path. I know they play each other, but I don't know, a little unfair to the rest of them in the West, in my opinion.
Drinking buddies.
Think so?
Probably. It's usually what it always comes down to.
I think Summerall and Womack were out there with the commissioner of the Sun Belt,
I don't know. Summerall's a G, man. Probably.
He probably is. Anyway.
Yeah.
Let's talk individual players. Swaggy. Players to watch, best transfers. Who's the key this year?
Louisiana may be a question mark, but they got a badass tight end, Neil Johnson. So this guy has a good senior year. See, look at this guy probably getting, drafted and going to the NFL. I'm an offensive line guy. And for last week's episode, I did say Tulane has the best offensive line in a group of 5. Still sticking with that. However, our boys over there in Boone, North Carolina, they're going to have a pretty good offensive line this year. So they're going to help that quarterback out. They're going to be able to block for Nate Noel. Guy's going to have some big rushing games, and they have stud receivers at App State. So it's going to come down the offensive line. And if they're as good as what we're seeing and researching, App State should have a pretty good year. Defensive wise, we talk about Troy defense. Badass TJ Jackson last year, 14 and a half tackles, 4 loss, 2 forced fumbles. They actually had 5 different games where he had 2 tackles, 4 loss. He's going to be a junior. Look for this guy to disrupt offenses. TJ Jackson at Troy. D end. I mean, look, D ends are like the scariest position.
Well, when they play for Troy.
Well, I know, but like going back to my playing games, I mean, average, below average at best. But when you're watching film and you just see that guy, you're like, good God. That's what he is on film. The guy is a monster.
You know what my favorite part of being at Middle was? This is Jeff, you were gone, but it was when I was a whatever student assistant. That's my senior year, and I would go out there for pregame, and Jesse and Nick Nunez would come out there with the centers early in the tunnel, and I would be out there before anybody looking at the other team, and I would go report back, oh yeah, they're big. Every single week, or I would be like, yeah, I don't think they're that good.
Yeah, no, but it was very rare we ever said that, because there's like some reason when you're playing Division I football, you look across the field, those dudes look monsters, and you're just like, oh shit, here we go again.
I'd be out there standing there with my stopwatch and my clipboard. I go stand right next to like the outside linebacker, size them up, and I go back to Nick and Jesse. I'll be like, gonna be a long game, boys.
I will never forget how big in 2013, how like the biggest defensive line I ever seen in my life was East Carolina. Like those guys were monsters.
Yeah, they looked apart for
sure.
sure.
I just remember I was like, they're not as big as they were on film, huh? And you're like, they're big.
Well, it was fun.
And Spray would also be like, hope you're ready. Okay. Thanks, strength coach. You've got to be prepared all summer for this.
Yeah. Because we went to BYU, and BYU was really freaking good. But I remember telling them, I'm like, they're not that big. But then East Carolina, it was like, them boys looked the part.
They're huge.
Have fun. Anyway, I don't know why I brought that up or where that came
from.
Or
just because TJ Jackson is he's going to be the guy that the GAs are going to go to the left tackle and say, I hope you had your Wheaties this morning, because this guy's going to be coming. He's coming.
Yeah. They got a couple guys like that at Troy. Murph, players to watch. Who you got?
All right, I got offense, defense, and a transfer. Top quarterback and receiver combo, most proven in the Sun Belt. It's got to be Grayson McCall and Sam Pinkney. Grayson McCall last year, 70% completion. That's what you got to have in that offense. 2,700 yards, 24 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. That is a great touchdown to pick ratio. And he was hurt. He missed a handful of games last year. So those numbers would have been even better. 6 rushing touchdowns on the ground as well. And then our boy Steeple's son, 71 receptions last year, 996 yards, 4 yards short of 1,000. 3 touchdowns. I expect that touchdown number to be even higher this year. That's got to be the top QB receiver combo. When you got that offense is going to roll. Defense, safety out of Southern Miss. Jay Stanley, this guy is a stud. He's going to lead that back in. 61 tackles last year, 3 forced fumbles, 5 picks. If Southern Miss is going to improve that defense, and they need to, because that offense is going to be good, but I think there's still a lot of question marks on it. He's going to lead the way. Look out for Jay Stanley. And then top transfer, I think, to keep an eye on, Jordan McLeod, James Madison's transfer quarterback. He was at USF, then he went to Arizona, now he's at James Madison. Centeio is gone. That is a huge hole to fill. Not only is he gone, their top receiver is gone, their top running back is gone. A lot to replace over at James Madison, but I'm excited to see what he can do. He might have the best offensive line in the conference. All 5 starters coming back. Nick Kidwell's coming back. And that defense is going to be incredible again as well. One of the top defenses in the Sun Belt. So as far as a quarterback coming in, transferring, he's got a great situation with a great O-line and a great defense. Can they get some other skill guys coming in the portal to help out? But keep an eye on Jordan McLeod.
I listened to their head coach on the Frary and Smith podcast. Shout out to those guys. But he said Centeio they didn't know was going to be the guy until late in camp. And then that's kind of how they are right now this year. So he was, I know coaches say what coaches say, might have been coach speak, but he was very confident in this year. And he said, James Madison, the expectation is to win. It doesn't matter, what level
I
they're
love
at, FBS,
Cignetti.
FBS.
I
Yeah.
think he's a big time staff.
Yeah, he's big time. They'll be very good. That O-line is, I mean, they might be you got James Madison, App State, Tulane. I'd like to see Boise. Yeah, Air Force.
Air Force.
They got a good one. They do.
They're good cut blockers.
No, they're big now though. It's a different era.
Yeah, they're
They cut
targeting the
block.
knees. They cut block.
Yeah, they are. Anyway,
that's all it is.
For me, I talked about it a little bit. Players to watch. I'm going Louisiana quarterback Ben Woldridge. If he gets the job, I think that he is the key. I hate two quarterbacks, especially when neither one of them are playing really, really well. But I thought he definitely played better last year. I think he's the key if Louisiana wants to have any chance at all in the West. But like Jesse said, he's got a damn good tight end to bail him out when that time comes. On defense, just to make it quick, because we're probably not going to have a whole lot to say, unfortunately, about Old Dominion. Jason Henderson, the linebacker. Talk about a guy that looks the part. The guy's got horseshoe triceps. I would hate to see him, Jesse, if you're the pulling guard and you got that sumbitch coming in the hole.
We're gonna run power all second half. You sure about that?
Sure about that? But anyway, guy had 186 tackles last year. So Old Dominion, I think, is going to be a little bit down this year. But if you want to watch a guy find the football, Jason Henderson, linebacker, Old Dominion. I skipped you, Tip. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Tip, who you watching for this year? I got fired up. I'm sorry.
That's all good. No
Who you
worries.
got?
So my players to watch, I got 5 running backs on offense because all these 5 guys are just absolute studs. Rasheen Ali for Marshall. He's coming back off that ACL tear. He played a little bit at the end of last season, so he should be fully healthy this year. Going back to 2021, I know we've talked about this before, but I just want to say these stats again. Back in 2021, 1,401 rushing yards, 23 touchdowns, and also had 46 receptions, 342 receiving yards, and added another touchdown. So 24 total touchdowns coming back to this Marshall offense. Looking for a big year out of Rasheen Ali. Southern Miss running back, Frank Gore Jr., he's back. He almost had 1,400 rushing yards last year, 9 total touchdowns. He's going to have a great year this year. South Alabama running back, LaDamian Webb, had a little over 1,050 rushing yards last year, 13 rushing touchdowns, 2 receiving touchdowns. He's back with another great South Alabama offense this year. Troy running back, Kiami Vidal, coming back this year again after 1,132 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns last season. Again, I said it earlier, Gunnar Watson coming back this year. This offense is going to pick up right back where they left off last year. Also, App State running back Nate Noel. I know Jesse mentioned him a little bit, but with Cam Peoples now with the Carolina Panthers in the NFL, does this mean Nate Noel is going to get more carries this year? And Baker Loy in the chat says that Nate Noel has added on 20 pounds of muscle this season. So what does that tell me, boys? That tells me that Nate Noel is going to get some more carries this year. And
50 pounds?
20.
Oh, Jesus. I was like, got Eddie Lacy back there holding a baby. But that ain't good, Tip. 50 pounds.
20 pounds. No, but I loved the combo of Cam Peoples and Nate Noel. But with Cam Peoples now in the NFL, Nate Noel should hopefully get some more carries, get some more touches, can get in a better rhythm. I mean, this guy averaged 6.9 yards per carry last year. I want that guy getting more carries. I want someone like that to get 15 to 20 plus carries a game if possible. Going over to the defensive side of the ball, South Alabama safety Yam Banks. This guy's just an absolute stud for this defense. 50 tackles last year, 6 interceptions. He was first team All Sun Belt last year. He will probably do the same again this year. We've talked about this guy before in previous podcasts. Marshall defensive lineman Owen Porter. 60 tackles last year, 9.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. He's going to have another great year this year. Best transfer for me, Troy's adding another running back, Asa Martin out of Memphis. Last year, he had 85 carries, 435 yards, 7 touchdowns. Had a lot of receptions, 36 receptions, 312 receiving yards, and a touchdown. So Coach Summerall just adding another weapon to this Troy offense.
Nate Noel. Hey, first of all, 20 pounds of muscle in one off season. These strength coaches got to quit reporting stuff like this. Yeah. Like, think about that for a second. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, he might have put on 20 pounds, but it was probably like, 10 of muscle, 10, a little bit of body fat. It's no problem.
And just to give these guys credit, because when I went over the offensive line, I didn't even say any names. Like Isaiah Helms, previous All Sun Belt player, Griffin Scroggs coming from Georgia. I mean, guy is leaving Georgia, going to be North Carolina, and Damian Daly. So, like, they have big name guys on the offensive line that's going to contribute to give Nate Noel these rushing yards. I want to make sure I said their names, though.
Can Stu or somebody from App State, which restaurant is the Ryan Burger located? Is that River Street Ale House? Did we see that? Their quarterback's name is Ryan Burger. He got an NIL deal at a local bar called the Ryan Burger. But anyway,
a lot of burgers.
Yeah, put on 50 pounds, right? I do agree with you though, Tip. I think I said it earlier in the summer. I think, with Chase Bryce being gone, they're going to be forced to go back to their identity of just run the ball. True number one running back, really good offensive line, inexperienced quarterback. Give it to Noel, let him work. That's what they need to do. But let's move on to coaches. Give me a coach that's on the hot seat or a coach that with a really good year is going to move on to greener pastures. Swag Bear.
I don't necessarily agree with this. I just know how crazy you people are up in Boone, North Carolina. But if they don't have their season where they're competing for a Sun Belt championship, people are probably going to be saying it's time for Clark to go. So I feel like he will be on the hot seat if by some chance he doesn't get like 10 wins or something, because you guys are crazy assholes. I also think Sean Elliott at Georgia State, he's going to be on the hot seat. He's headbutted too many players. Butch Jones at Arkansas State, but I'm not going to go through the whole. I can go through all the coaches, I guess. Georgia Southern, your boy gets 8 or 9 wins. He's off to greener pastures. Clay Helton. Sorry to say it.
Great.
If he beats Sean Clark, he's gone. Sean might be gone.
Yeah, that's a great list. I actually agree with everything you just said. Sean Elliott at Georgia State. They've been so close to winning. They played Auburn really tight a year or two ago. They played North Carolina really tight a year or two ago. They always get one game that they win that they probably shouldn't have won, but then they always lose like 2 or 3 that they should not be losing. But anyway, those were all the ones I had. Murph or Tip, did you have anybody else add to that?
Yeah, I got one, and that I believe the burger joint, Sprouse, that you asked, the Cardinal is what they're saying on the group chat. Never been there.
Been to Boone 3 times. Never been to the Cardinal.
Didn't mean to take all y'all's coaches. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Apologies.
Don't worry about it. Coach to get poached. I think if Troy
coach to get poached, there you go.
Troy wins another championship, I think Summerall's phone is going to be ringing off the hook. I hope and pray that he stays. I think Troy is a fantastic place to be. I think you can really build something for longevity at Troy. So Summerall, stay at Troy.
John, buddy,
got to stay. Give him the max deal that you need. The Troy University admin, get him to stay. But I think Summerall's phone's going to start heating up, especially if he has another good year.
I think if last year wasn't his first year at Troy, I'm not saying he would have went, but I think the Auburn Tigers would have had him just as high on their list as they had Hugh Freeze. Maybe not, but I think they would have. Just the location of it would have just been perfect on a platter situation for them.
Is Stoops still at Kentucky?
Yeah.
Okay. Troy has a good year and Kentucky has a bad year. Look out, because he may go back to Kentucky.
He's staying at Troy.
I
Right,
wouldn't
Coach?
leave Troy to go to Kentucky, personally.
He played at Kentucky.
I know that, but I just feel like you can build something way better at Troy than you can at Kentucky. That's just my opinion.
Do you think, not saying Coach Summerall in particular, but let's just get inside the mind of a college football coach right now, especially one that would potentially be going back to their alma mater. Do you not think that these coaches got a little bit of ego, and even though nobody's been able to do it, they might be like, I can build a freaking perennial contender at Kentucky? Don't you think?
I think
If
you
you're a
gotta
good
have
coach,
that mindset.
you think, right?
Yeah, I think you got to have that mindset as a coach.
Well, then.
See?
Kentucky, that's a basketball school. You don't ever want to be in the shadows. That's actually probably more important than.
For the record, I mean, I think he's got a pretty good spot at Troy, and what he's doing at Troy is pretty amazing. So
Yeah.
didn't they just give him another contract? Maybe I made that up. Maybe I dreamt of that one. Thought he just signed a new contract.
Troy will come through. They'll take care of him. They'll figure something out. Tip,
Yeah.
did you have anybody to add to that?
I didn't. Jesse took mine. I had Butch Jones. He's had top recruiting classes in the Sun Belt, and it's not translating to wins. So I mean, I think another bad year, there's a chance he gets fired.
Yeah, he'll be back there working for free for Saban again. Anyway, it's time to start picking some games.
I won't take as many this time.
We should do like before the show. We should do like a group text and like say what coaches we're gonna say.
Just for the hell of it. Butch Jones was the only one I saw on there that y'all had.
No, I had Sean Elliott. It's okay.
Did you really?
Yeah, it's all right.
Probably in the 76 messages I had to go through.
No, that was actually like yesterday while you were. Anyway, Prize Picks, Jesse. Download the app. Everybody, download the app. Use our code GOFG. They'll match you. They'll match you up to $100 on your first time deposit. Do you know they're like the fastest growing daily fantasy company in the world right now?
I really like them. I just wish they would come to Tennessee.
Yeah, if anybody from Prize Picks is listening, let's get you to Tennessee. They got it. What was the last one they went to? Indiana, I think, is a new state in the last month or two up there in Mac country. But they are here in Georgia. And as always, it's Taco Tuesday. I got Freddie Freeman and Sohei Ohtani. You got to get over 1.5 on hits, runs, RBIs. I mean, all you got to do, that's what you got to just hit a home run. That's it. You go 1 for 5 tonight, Freddie. Make it a homer. But anyway, download the app, Prize Picks, use our code GOFG. They give you a free $100. What kind of faces, Jet? What are you doing right now?
I'm so excited. My wife just made homemade chocolate croissants. And
Croissants.
They're ready. And she just texted me, bro. And I'm like,
the truth. This is why that
She's
when
about to come
we
out.
finish the podcast, Jesse's always like, and group of 5 guys, see you next week. And he runs out. I thought it was because you were going to watch Temptation Island.
No, I think that season's over. The chocolate croissants just got out of the oven.
I bet
All
you're
right, let's go. Game of the week. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. All right, Swag. Biggest game in the Sun Belt 2023. Who you got?
Okay, so I'm just going to do one game. I will say you do have this game as well, Matthew. But
Take it.
It's in the East. I think App State will have a good year. I think Marshall has a very hard schedule. I think that the winner of the Week 9 matchup, I believe it is, App State hosting Marshall, that game could potentially, I think most likely, will determine the champion in the SBC East.
I like it.
I thought you were about to. Oh, you're over here. I thought you were going to give me like I was wrong. But yeah, I mean,
it's a great game.
Yeah, I did like 10 to 12. And I was like doing like a fancy draft. When you saying you do like a little pre-draft, I did the whole record season for schedule for the Sun Belt like 3 or 4 times, and I kept getting Marshall and App State being the 2 teams with the most wins. But it's going to come down to that game. So look forward to that one. That was one of the first games we ever went to.
That was, and it wasn't
fun.
that a Thursday night game? Wednesday night game.
Thursday night game. Zeke tried to run on the field, got tackled by alumnus.
Was it Nate Noel that
we need Nate Noel to
Nate
score,
Noel.
damn
we
it.
need him to
And
score, and he didn't.
Yeah.
Made the right play. What week is that? At absolutely November 4th.
It's week 9 or
It'll
week
be
9 or
cold.
10.
I was going to say, maybe we think about that, but it's going to be too cold. Sorry, Stu.
Get the
It'll be
RV
too
and head
cold.
up
We'll be
there.
staying. Yeah. We'll go down to FAU or FIU that week. So in November, we keep
Makes
it
sense.
below. You know what I mean? Murph, biggest game, Sunbelt. What you got?
November 25th, Georgia Southern plays at App State. I think both teams are going to be in the hunt in the East. I think that possibly could determine who goes to the championship game. I just have a feeling that Georgia Southern is going to be sneaky good. With the numbers that Helton's offense put up last year, you get Davis Brin from Tulsa coming in. He can throw the rock around. Caleb Hood, who's an outstanding receiver, is back. Jalen White, who their running back is very good. 3 offensive linemen returning. If they can get that defense to figure some things out and keep those points per game that they give up lower, about 5-6 points lower than last year, they're going to win a lot of ball games, and they might have a chance. So it's at the Rock. It's going to be a tough game, but it's a game to watch for sure.
If last year you asked me which quarterback I'd rather have, Kyle Van Treese or Davis Brin, I'm probably picking Davis Brin.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to be.
I've been loving Davis Brin since.
Yeah, you have.
2020.
You've been on Davis Brin.
I mean, he
But
just had a bad program.
Hey, well, they are not good. But yeah, I think they're going to be really good. I think that's a big game. Tip, what about you? Biggest game in the Sun Belt 2023?
So biggest Sun Belt game that I have is Marshall at Coastal, Week 9, October 28th. That game could determine the team that comes out of the East Division. Group of 5 non-conference game, Western Kentucky goes down to Troy. That was a big game last year. Troy went up to Western Kentucky and beat them in Bowling Green. So really excited Week 4 to see Western Kentucky's offense go down and play against that Troy defense. Power 5 versus Group of 5 game. Jesse talked about it a little bit earlier. Coastal Carolina goes out to the West Coast at UCLA Week 1. I think that's a very winnable game. UCLA lost their quarterback, their top 3 pass catchers from last season. UCLA's defense allowed more than 32 points 5 times in the last 7 games from last year. And somebody on a call talked about it earlier. South Alabama almost beat them last year, and it was the 32-31 on a last-second field goal. So I think that is a very winnable game with UCLA getting a lot of new pieces, especially on offense. Coastal has a lot of the same team from last year, same players. So I think they have a good chance to go out there and beat them Week 1.
Is Chip Kelly still out there? He is, isn't he?
He is.
He's such an idiot. Did you see that quote he had about making a Power 5 playoff and a Group of 5 playoff? Jesse, you can go, man. God almighty, look at the guy. Let's see these chocolate croissants.
Hold it up a little higher. Oh, boy.
Look at that thing, huh?
That does look really
Eat
good.
it. I'm so sorry.
Eat it.
Let me think about it. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
Live croissant review.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that
crisp.
sounded good.
Yeah, that did sound good. Now mute your mic, please.
Oh, nothing better than the bear eating a nice hot croissant.
No, at 10
on the live
p.m. on a
stream.
Tuesday night. Where are we? Tip, are you done? UCLA, Chip Kelly?
I am, yes.
Chip Kelly, what an idiot. He said there should be a Power 5 champion and a Group of 5 champion, as if UCLA had a shot winning either of those. I mean, my God. Anyway, biggest game for me, November 2nd, South Alabama at Troy. Winner of that game is winning the West. Another big game for me is James Madison at Troy, September 16th, Week 3. Might be down there in Troy for that game, but reason I think that's a big game, I think James Madison just wants to prove that they are the kings of all the Sun Belt. They want to prove they're kings of the East again, but they go down there and beat Troy at Troy. They're wanting to prove that they're at the top of this conference. Dark horse. Jess, you ready to roll?
I'm back.
Dark horse in the Sun Belt. Who you got?
I'm going to go back to the original Rock, the real Rock. And I'm not talking about over there in San Francisco. I'm talking about Southern Miss in Hattiesburg, Alcatraz, under the Golden Gate,
around
around
Alcatraz.
No, I'm just trying to get App State all riled up. I like Southern Miss this year. I really do. I think their schedule's going to – it starts out rough. Because I think Florida State's going to be pretty good this year. And Tulane, I'm sticking to my guns. I said that they would beat Southern Miss. I still think they will. However, after that, going to Arkansas State, Texas State at home, ODU at home, upsetting South Alabama Jaguars. I think they're going to have a great season. Why is that, you ask? Hang on a second. Croissant stuck in the throat. I'm back. Last year they went 7-6. They lost to Liberty, they lost to Coastal, and lost to South Alabama by less than 7 points. Okay, so one score games, you can go either way. I get it. It's football. Can Southern Miss win the close games this year? Zach Wilk. If there's anything for a quarterback that is monumental, it is experience. And throwing a kid out there in the Sharks as a true freshman, it's going to be monumental for next year. I remember the worst game I have ever had in my whole collegiate career was against, and this is nothing against FCS teams, but when they threw me out at left tackle against Austin Peay, and I think Jeff Murphy was quarterback, worst college football game I've ever played in my life. It's just called not having experience. And I know, Jeff, at your deli, there's a picture of me chasing a DN that's about to smack you right in the ribs.
I was just about to say, ran for my life that game.
I can see in your eyes. Last year, Zach Wilke had 8 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, inexperience. But they're going to have 6 of their 7 targets back from last year, and they were one of the top offenses in deep receptions. So they also have, obviously, Frank Gore Jr. The guy is just going to be a stud. Also with a Memphis transfer from Clark that has over 1,000 yards rushing. I think Southern Miss is going to be a dark horse. I'm not saying they're going to win the conference. I'm not saying that. I think they're going to give a lot of teams trouble. Look out for Southern Miss.
They got to get something. They got to get something from quarterback this year. They can't just keep throwing Frank Gore out there in the Wildcat and just letting him do everything. But I think they got a chance. Murph, what about you? Dark horse in the Sun Belt. Texas State, Malik Hornsby's throwing for 2,000. Yeah.
Let me just go to you. You keep it going, Sprouse. You pretty much got my whole.
We'll be diving in the river December 2nd after the Sun Belt Championship game.
I mean, does that sound that bad? That sounds like
sounds amazing.
Sounds
to me.
like a great
it just
time.
Sounds like
No, I really do. I think Texas State. If there's a team that's going to come out of nowhere and have a shot at the title, I think it's Texas State. I think the Bobcats and what GJ Kinney are doing down there in the portal, it's a lot to make mesh. It's a lot to gel, but I think he can do it. And I think with the improvements that they're going to have up front, they're going to be massive up front. They're going to be able to get a push. If they can give Hornsby some time, he could make some dynamic plays happen. And when there's a lot of question marks on defense, if you got a quarterback that can make things happen, secondary plays, off-schedule plays, that's how you beat good defenses, especially in the Sun Belt West with South Alabama and Troy. That'll be the 2 teams that they got to beat. If you have Hornsby, he can run around, and if he has improved his throwing, which I think he has, Texas State, look him out, eat him up, champs, dark horse champs.
I like it. Tip, dark horse in the Sun Belt. What you got?
My dark horse team for this year is none other than the App State Mountaineers. I looked back at their games last year. 5 of their losses were 1-score games. This kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier with Troy. With these 1-score games, if you flip, 2 or 3 of those into wins, then App State's at 8 or 9 wins last year. So that could potentially turn around this year, and they win more of those 1-score games. Like we talked about earlier, Chase Bryce, their quarterback, he's gone. Redshirt freshman Ryan Berger, he's your new QB1. Get the Ryan Berger at the Cardinal. Which, guys, I just looked this up real quick. The Ryan Berger is a double cheeseburger with cheddar cheese, barbecue sauce, tobacco, onions, bacon, greens, and mayo. Sounds fantastic. Sounds like we're gonna have to make a trip to the Cardinal.
Cardinal, huh? I don't even know where it is. And Boone's not that big. Where's the Cardinal at, Stu? Can we get
Yes.
some confirmation in there?
Yeah, Stu Baker, let us know where the Cardinals at, because we gotta make a trip there. But going back to App State, they have their top 4 wide receivers from last year returning. I talked about Nate Noel earlier. They also have Amani Marshall and a Navy transfer, Mikael Haywood. So they got 3 running backs there that I'm assuming all 3 of those guys are going to get touches. If kind of what we saw last year, it was Cam Peoples, Nate Noel. So I can see all 3 of these running backs getting touches this year. Jesse mentioned it earlier. They have a great offensive line. The defense struggled at times last year. They gave up about 30 points per game in their Sun Belt games last year. And you lost Nick Hampton, who's in the NFL now. So this defense is going to need to find a way to get in the backfield and get pressure on the quarterback. That's something that they were lacking last year. But they have 6 defensive transfers coming in this season. So if those guys can make an immediate impact and turn this defense around and make them successful, App State could be a sneaky good team, and they could have a chance, like they're used to, being up at the top of that division and playing for the Sun Belt Championship.
You said it, Tip. They got to get back to their identity. The last 2 years, they've averaged 204 yards a game and 192 yards a game rushing. Previous 2 years, where they were at their best, 265 and 231 on the ground. So got to get back to that. I mean, almost 60 yards rushing per game they were averaging in 2019. So 60 yards more per game. I apologize. For me, I kind of have 2, since we talked about Georgia Southern a little bit. I do think that they are a dark horse. Maybe somebody's got them winning this conference. I just think that their offense is going to be really, really, really good. I mean, the fact that they were as good as they were last year with Van Treese coming in there in Helton's first year, bringing in Davis Brin, who, like we talked about earlier, Swag's been high on for 2 or 3 years now. But my real dark horse, Georgia State. They have had 10 losses by less than 10 points since 2020. 2 of those games are to North Carolina and Auburn, and 5 of those 10 games were last year, all by less than a touchdown. So they are so close. And I think they get sometimes they're a young team, dumb stuff to lose these games. But Darren Granger's back. He's a really good quarterback. He's a really underrated quarterback. Steeple said it in his call. 18 TDs in the air, 6 on the ground last year. He's just got to get some help from the running game outside of himself. And then they've got to help him out on defense as well. But I think Georgia State isn't a team that can compete in the East, but I think it's a team that could ruin somebody's chances in the East at any point this year. It's time. It is time. Actually, real quick, no mention of these 2 teams yet. And I'm surely nobody's going to pick them to win the conference. La Monroe, Terry Bowden. Well, what are they doing?
They're going to play some football.
And my second question is, what has happened to Arkansas State?
Butch Jones. Brick by brick, paper plate by paper plate. It's just,
I mean, like, we don't
That's
know
just
for
not the
sure.
same.
Like, we don't know for sure what's going on there, but like we've seen Butch Jones have success at other schools, like Cincinnati.
I mean, he
So,
kind of
like,
built
I don't.
Cincinnati to what it
Yeah,
was. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't.
when I
don't know. It's
still see that name, Ark State, like just my experience playing them, I keep wanting to put
Exactly
W's
what I
by
was-
that name.
That's what I was
Oh,
gonna
sorry.
say. No,
But-
keep going.
Oh, I know. It's just been like what's going on for the past 3 or 4 years now. I can't do it. I'm not going to just put my name out there. It's already getting trashed enough with my picks. I'm not going to say Arkansas State's going to be good until they win a few ball games.
They
And
do have a
even-
water feature in the stadium, though.
Yeah, I've heard
Pretty cool.
several times. But
Yeah.
like going back to what you said, Sprouse, talking about Georgia State and the under 10 points lost, Southern Miss losing by 1 score. Looking at App State lose by 1 score. Some of those were different out of conference games, but this just goes back to just this conference, man. We can look at all 14 of these teams. I think it's 14 anymore. All 14 of these teams, but anybody can beat anybody any day because these are really good football programs. For the most part, 10 of these teams possibly could win the conference. it's not saying that everybody's average. These are just really good football teams.
I agree.
Arkansas State does not get included. In that.
Not one of those 10. All right, Jess, you're up first, big guy. Who's winning the West? Who's winning the East? Who's winning it all?
I really like Coastal Carolina this year. It was not me. My croissant's already done. It's already out of the oven. I like Coastal Carolina. However, they are going to be relying on Grayson McCall. Can Grayson McCall stay healthy the whole season? I'm going to be willing to bet maybe not. Georgia Southern. I like Georgia Southern's going to have a really good season, but will their defense be better than last year? I don't know. Marshall, it's going to come down to them playing App State. I think App State gets that win. So I think App State will be the leader in the East and in the West. It's going to be very simple. It's going to come down between Troy and South Alabama. I do think Southern Miss is going to be in the mix because they're a dark horse. I'm sticking with that. However, I think Troy will come out on top. I love Summerall. I like what he's doing with that program. That defense is amazing. It's going to come down to App State against Troy. And I'm going to say Troy is going to be the defending Sun Belt Conference champions 2 years in a row.
Nice pick. Murph, are you good to go on your
Go to
pick
Tip
here?
real quick.
Go to Tip. Who you got?
Okay, so coming out of the East, I got Coastal Carolina. I think they have, with McCall and Pickney coming back, this offense is going to be rolling. I think they're going to be rolling enough to where they're just going to outscore everyone, and they'll be the team, I believe, that comes out of the East. They don't have to play. I think we talked about this earlier. They don't have to play Troy, South Alabama, Southern Miss, or Louisiana out of the West Division in the regular season. So I think that benefits them tremendously, and I think they're a team that comes out of the East. The West Division, like Jesse was just talking about, I think it comes down to either Troy, South Alabama. I think the winner of the Week 10 game where South Alabama goes to Troy, I think the winner of that game wins the West Division. I'm going to give the edge to Troy because they're playing that game at home, but that should be another great, low-scoring defensive battle of a game. And Jesse mentioned this earlier. I think defense wins championships, and Troy's defense is very good. They were very good last year. I think they're going to be very good again this year. So I got Troy. I think this is going to be a close game because I think Coastal's offense will be able to score some points against Troy. But I'm going to go with the Troy Trojans to repeat and to win the Sun Belt Conference Championship.
Jeff Murphy. Who you got?
Let's just start in the West. I think it's definitely going to come down to Troy and South Alabama. I truthfully think South Alabama is the most complete team in the conference, top to bottom. You got Carter Bradley, you got LaDamian Webb, you got Devin Voisin. I mean, almost all their pieces on both sides of the ball are coming back. They're going to be very good up front defensively, fantastic in the back end. So I think it's going to be hard for teams to score on them. I think that they're going to do a much better job when they play Troy this time around of being able to move the ball. I think they learned a lot playing them last year, and they're going to figure out, especially Carter Bradley, a way to push the ball downfield. All right, so I think it's South Alabama coming out of the West. Out of the East, it's going to be a shootout side of this conference, in my opinion. And when you got a shootout, I'm going with who's got the best quarterback, who's got the best receivers and skill guys. And that's Coastal Carolina by far out of the East. Give me Grayson McCall coming out of the East. I think he's going to lead the Chanticleers to the championship game. You may not like it, but learn to love it. The Coastal Carolina Chanticleers are the winner of the Sun Belt this season. Book it.
Wow, way to pander, huh? You guys know he's going up to Coastal week 2. He's pandering to the audience. I like Coastal, Jeff. In the West, I feel like the West is the defensive side of the conference, and it's which team is going to be able to put together the most offense. And I think you have Troy and you have South Alabama. South Alabama returns 9 starters on defense, 9 starters on offense. I think, like Jeff said, they are the most complete team talent-wise in the entire Sun Belt. The question I have on South Alabama is how do they respond now that there's some expectations on them? That's the question mark. In the East, I think you have all these high-powered offenses. You don't have a lot of defense. So the question is, in the East, who is going to play some defense? And that's why I have the South Alabama Jaguars playing the Marshall Thundering Herd, and the winner of the Sun Belt Conference, we are Marshall. I got them
Ooh.
taking it. I think this is their year. I think they a bunch of tough games. I mean, you look at them losing at South Alabama in overtime, losing to Bowling Green, 9-point loss to Troy last year and it was a fumble recovery for a touchdown by Troy. Bunch of close games, and they had a bunch of guys hurt. I think Marshall, they can stay healthy. They got to get through that gauntlet of a schedule, though. But I
They
like
go
Marshall.
to App State in Boone, North Carolina, and beat App State.
Yes,
Is
they
that what
do.
you're saying?
Yes, they do.
It's gonna be a hell of a
They are
game.
really good. You're right. They have the offense and they have the defense.
To
It's
me,
just the
that's
schedule.
that's the
It's just
thing.
schedule.
I look at both Marshall and South, and I think they're about the only two that have both.
Yeah.
So
And I agree with Jeff. I mean, if Coastal can keep Grayson McCall healthy and not rely on him to make 90% of the plays, then yeah, they got a good shot too. But last year kind of made me a little weary.
I listened to our interview with Trickett, and that got me far. I think, what he said the most, what I love, and I know a lot of coaches say this, but, I asked him, what's the offense going to look like? And he goes, we're going to put our players in the best, position to be successful. So we're going to do some stuff they did last year. They're going to do, some different stuff that you hadn't seen. But I like that because you're not changing the entire system where everybody has to learn. It might be a little bit different terminology, but it's the same concepts. From offensively, that's just going to be huge. And he said that how quickly Grayson McCall has picked up everything that they were trying to install.
It's great,
guys. It's a quarterback. It's a quarterback.
I can see him out there in the
It's a
huddle. Be like,
quarterback's
"We
league.
learned that
You have the
shit."
best quarterback in the conference. He's going to take you all the way.
I hear you.
I have to correct an error I made. They did not lose South. They lost to Bowling Green in overtime last year. Marshall. Forgot to put a period on my little notepad there, and I read it wrong. So let me correct an error there. But anyway, guys, that is all we got for you guys on the Sun Belt Conference. Hope everybody enjoyed it. I don't know. You guys are checking the chat. I'm sure it was going wild.
Pretty funny.
Yeah, that's great. Let's shout those guys out real quick, Sprice, right before we go.
Yeah, who you got?
Man, we got Steeples in there. NK Blazer is in there. Baker Loy still in there. Boy Caskey's in there. We got all types of guys, man. Zach Green's still going strong in there. Stu's Wright still in there. That's what we want, guys. Keep them coming.
Favorite comment of the night, in my opinion, when we were talking about Texas State and all the boosters. I think Stu said, might as well have a bonfire and throw money into it.
That was good.
That was good.
That's great. Well, guys, we appreciate y'all joining us. If you missed any of our previous conference previews, you can catch Conference USA, MAC, American, Mountain West, all on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you go on there, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and review. Tell your family and friends all about us. Follow us on all the social media platforms at Group of Five Guys. Go to groupof5guys.com and get you some swag. We got college football next week. Get all anything you got to do out. Do it Saturday. Do whatever you got to do because we got football after that, boys and girls. We appreciate you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We're out of here.